Here we are, Get Valiant, episode number 88. Um, yeah, I'm always surprised by the numbers. I don't know. They're,
Very
I
surprised by
don't
numbers. I can barely count that high, but still can be here for episode 88. Hope people are watching. How y'all doing?
yeah, I know Jason seems to be here at least, and we'll see who else is joining us. Feel free to comment in the live chat. Live chat. I try to keep an eye on that. Um, got a few different things that we can talk about. Some news that dropped, not only some news that dropped recently, but news that dropped today. So that's cool. Um, but Josh, I know you said you had some listener things that you wanted to jump into. So I don't know
Yeah,
if you would like
like
to
I
get
always
into
feel
that
like you do
first.
such a great job keeping up with the people in the chat that I want to try to do a little bit of a better job keeping up with the people who are tweeting at us or sending emails at us.
I can't see
So
you. What did you do to your video?
you can't see me?
I can't see you. What did you do?
Can you see me now? You can't see
No,
me. You still can't fucking see
no,
me?
no.
I can hear you way better now.
Well, I can hear you, but I can't see you. There you go.
Huh, weird. I didn't even hit anything, but all of a sudden I could hear you way better. But do you really need to see me? Come on. I mean,
No.
I'm taken back by the fact that you love what you see, but still. Anyway,
Anyway.
speaking of Jason Falter, he actually sent a tweet at us yesterday. Um, and this might be a little bit hard of one to answer real quick, just because it is kind of the beginning of our podcast. We haven't talked about the books yet. But he said he had so much anticipation for this week and all for flashbacks and dreamscapes. I think I need to lower my expectations for Harbinger Wars 2 at this point, too. Maybe not enough pages planned for the story. It's just off kilter. So I think that one, we'll go into that one a little bit closer when we get to our review of Harbinger Wars 2. Also, another comment that was brought up to us from Toxic Sting, the real Toxic Blast on Twitter. And he said, general question, but he's like, do you remember when they announced Psylords? He wanted to know who we both thought would be the guy to write Psylords if they ever do it.
uh, it's either it would be Matt Kent or a newbie.
I agree with that, especially if we're talking about 4001, 4002's timeline. I think Kent or Fred Van Lente even would be the right guys to do it. Kent said he actually had a whole bunch of stuff planned for that timeline when I heard him talk at Emerald City Comic Con a year or so ago. So I keep hoping and praying, not praying, but hoping that fucking, they announce something with that timeline at some point. So I do think he would be kind of the guy to go to.
Yeah. I think FVL would be good, but there are a lot of writers that I think could do it. It's just a matter of, somebody having a story that's worth telling. Josh, you were requested to um, post the link on Twitter the day of the podcast.
I did post a link.
Oh, the link got posted.
Who
Um,
said I didn't post the link?
it was Jason. Jason asked for you to post the link, and I said I would pass it on.
I'm pretty sure I just posted it like earlier this afternoon. I posted it yesterday too.
Apparently, you got to post it more.
Well, fucking A. Sorry, Jason.
um, but I don't know. He's saying Kent might be overworked and stretched, with everything that he's done for Valiant so far, and maybe getting a newbie in if they do Psylords would be a better way to go. And
It depends though, because look at like Lemire. Like Lemire writes all over the fucking place, right? And all of his books, I can't speak on Descender because I don't read it, but like everything is just so good that he writes. And I feel like Lemire writes a ton. So I think it's just more of a question of whether someone has that story to tell, if they have the passion in doing it, and it's not just a thing that they're like handed off to make something happen with. Like if Kent was like, hey, I've got like a shit ton of ideas for 4001's timeline, and Psylords is part of that, I'd be like, okay, I'm listening. Let's hear what you got to have. But if it was one of those things where you find out later, like, I didn't really want to do it, and then they just handed it off to me, I would be like, I kind of see like why maybe it fell flat if it did.
yeah, I mean, definitely the right way to go is to pick the person that has the best story, not necessarily the person with a certain name. Because yeah, I would much rather see somebody that is new to the Valiant universe, like Shadow Man, right? Like we all talked about people who could do Shadow Man, and then Andy Diggle, who wasn't really on anybody's radar, kind of came in, and now he's writing one of the best books at Valiant. So I think
Yep.
that the same could be expected from bringing somebody new in to write really any title. I mean, whether it be Psylords, we're getting new people in to write Bloodshot, non Valiant writers. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with bringing in new blood, and that's, I think, probably one of the benefits of the recent personnel changeover is now we are going to get a lot more new blood, kind of like we talked about before. I think you were mentioning on a previous episode, you get new editors in and they're familiar with and like working with different writers, and they're going to bring those writers along with them. Hopefully it's only when it's appropriate, but it's a good thing when we get new talent, new voices, and new directions for the Valiant universe, because that's the most important thing, I think, is to keep it fresh, keep it interesting, and keep it enjoyable to read.
Definitely. I definitely agree with all those points.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't necessarily have a like it needs to be this guy or that lady or whatever the case is. I just want it to be good if it does happen. So, I think that's the most important thing. Um, Beyond that, do you want to get into some of the other news?
Well, I think the big news that we've kind of been waiting on for a day or two, it finally got dropped like about an hour and a half or 2 hours ago from us recording, is that Sony is going to go ahead and actually Sony went ahead and hired somebody to write a script for a Faith movie. The screenwriter's name is Maria Melnick. She writes for the American Gods TV show, which is really good. And Sony's looking to push ahead with more Valiant properties on the screen, so they've hired her to do a treatment for Faith. So Faith could possibly come to a movie theater.
I think it's kind of weird to put a Faith movie before a Harbinger movie.
Well, we don't. I don't know if it will necessarily get made before. I think it's just that they're hiring somebody because Bloodshot's getting ready to happen. Okay, like they're hiring all
Right.
these pieces. We can talk about another hire that they just did after this bit of news, but they're getting ready to shoot that movie, and they're gonna be in post production in a couple months, trying to get that thing edited and tightened up and everything like that. They're gonna need their next movie to start working on. Harbinger could be like that already. We've already got a script, so they do have that much of it done. It could just be that they're like, hey, you know what? What are we gonna do? Are we gonna spin something off from Harbinger when we do it? Faith makes a lot of sense, I think, just because her book was popular. She probably had like the most media coverage of anything that Valiant's done when the miniseries launched. I mean, just everybody wanted to talk about that book. So it could be that like the people Neil Moritz, who's producing the movie, I think he's also a producer on Bloodshot. It might be that he just says that maybe his thinking is that we know what we have there. We think it's popular enough to put a movie through. They go with it. And they can still do that after Harbinger hits.
Yeah, I mean they could. It's also possible that it could come before Harbinger. Faith could be activated before Harbinger. It doesn't have to be the timeline how it works in the comics. Otherwise, it could be, we see Bloodshot and then a Harbinger movie, and then, we could see some spin-offs from those before the sequels come, right?
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that we get a Harbinger movie and then a Faith movie very soon after, kind of like we got um, Captain America Civil War introduced Black Panther, and then one of the next Marvel movies was Black Panther.
Exactly.
So we could see a similar thing happen with Faith spinning out of Harbinger.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool news. I mean, for me, I like the character and I've liked the series. There was a bit. The news got dropped by the Key Collector Comics app yesterday, and we were all kind of like, "Where's this article at? Where's this article at?" Like it's supposed to come out today, and nothing ever came out yesterday, but it came out today. And if you look on eBay, man, a lot of Faith stuff sold in like the last day, and I don't know if it's being I don't know if it's being bought by like Valiant fans or if it's just like people who are like, "Hey, they might make a Faith movie. I'm gonna start buying a bunch of shit." But I mean, like seeing a bunch of people on over on ValiantFans.com talking that had a lot of Faith stuff up in their eBay stores were just like, "I haven't sold this stuff for months. Now I don't have any of it left. Like people just bought everything." So I hope the thing that happens with that is that people read the material and like it instead of just thinking like, "Oh, how do I make a buck on it?" I hope they're like, "Hey, I like this universe. Like she's a fun character. I want to learn more about what's going on in Valiant," and decide to pick up more books. I think that's great. If that happens, that's cool. If it doesn't, well, hopefully they like a movie if it happens.
Sure.
But I know for me, I always look at stuff like that on eBay because I'm always curious whenever I see these like little speculation announcements on whatever website or app and how fast it takes for stuff to sell. And there's so much fake stuff that sold that I was like, that's pretty cool. Even like second printings of like the #1 that were like given away free, people were buying those.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me. But Valiant buzz is a good thing, and hopefully it just drives more people to reading the books. And the more people that read the books, the more resources the company will have to not only keep up the quality of the books that are currently coming out, but potentially, put out more books every month, which I know is something a lot of fans have asked for.
Yeah. Well, not this isn't like a spoiler or anything, but I believe like next month there's going to be like 8 books out that are going to come out next month. So I think like Valiant's growing when they need to, as far as like what they're putting out on the stands. Hopefully, like with 8 weeks with 8 books coming out in a month, we don't get a week where there's no books, which is always like the lamest thing.
Hopefully. But Jason said, "Who will Jared Leto play? He just has to be in every universe, apparently." Well, supposedly they were actually talking to him about playing Axe. That's the news I saw recently, was that he wasn't in talks to play Bloodshot. He was in talks to play Axe, and walked away from that. And now he's going to be Morbius. Yeah, which I couldn't give a shit less about. But speaking of Axe, they did cast Toby Kebbell. And I don't know if many people are very familiar with him. He was in the Warcraft movie that nobody saw, and
a lot of people overseas saw that movie though. That's how it made its money.
You may be right. I don't know. I certainly didn't.
Like it wasn't very successful here, but Warcraft is just such a like global phenomenon. It made like a ton of money, like in China's markets and things like that. That it ended up being like a successful movie.
Well, I know Toby Kebbell was in that. He was in everybody's favorite superhero movie, Fantastic Four.
I didn't see it.
I did see it, and I don't think it's as bad as everybody says it is. It's not great. It's not like an amazing movie.
I know that you saw him in an episode of Black Mirror.
That's what I was going to get to.
I wanted to cut you off and throw that in so I can have something to offer for this piece.
You son of a bitch. Took it away from me. No, have you watched Black Mirror?
No, it's on my queue of things to watch. I keep hearing from just tons of people how good it is.
Why are you are fucking up right now. I just want you to know that.
I don't know about
anybody out there who has Netflix and has not already watched Black Mirror, you fucked up. And you need to rectify that as quickly as possible.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in my queue I got to get to first.
Yeah, but no, not first. Not first. None of it is as good and worth watching as Black Mirror is.
You're saying Black Mirror is that good?
I am saying Black Mirror is that good. Absolutely. Okay. I highly doubt that there's anything in your queue that is better than Black Mirror.
Well, I'd have to look at my queue, but I just had a bunch of stuff.
Jason does make a good point. The British episodes are better than a lot of the American episodes. The first 2 seasons are the best. And then season 3 is when Americans started getting into making it, and it's still good, but then season 4 just was not as good as the previous seasons. There are still good episodes in season 4, and it's still worth watching, but I would say that the first two seasons are the best. My favorite episode has Daniel Kaluuya, who became famous after the movie Get Out.
Yeah.
He played the main male lead in that movie. But Toby Kebbell, who's going to be playing Axe in the Bloodshot movie, is in an episode about because they're all kind of dystopian, futuristic sci-fi stories. And the episode that Toby Kebbell is in, all the characters, like your life is recorded with ocular implants, and you can play them back. So like it's this whole thing about like people rewatching all their memories and like so you don't tell stories to people about that thing that happened last weekend. You just put your memories on the TV and everybody can watch them. And it's pretty crazy, and the way that everything goes in that episode is nuts. As most of the episodes are. As Jason points out, that first episode of the first season of Black Mirror, it's a doozy.
Like in a good way doozy, or like in a bad way doozy?
Some people can't stomach it and assume that the rest of the series will be the same and refuse to watch it after that. That first episode is like the acting is really good. It's really well shot. The story is very interesting and compelling. It's just kind of rough. There's some things that happen in it. Well, honestly, the main premise, I don't really want to give away too much.
Don't give anything away, because I'll check out an episode.
That first episode of the first season is pretty tough to watch. But I will say, like, there are a lot of like names in some of those episodes, what's her name from Jurassic World? I'm blanking right now. Bryce Dallas Howard, is that her name? I don't know. She's in one of the episodes that's about social media that I thought was really good. John Hamm is in an episode that was really, really good. I don't know. There's a bunch of different actors that are really awesome, and that's one of the things that makes it cool as an anthology show. But the episode with Toby Kebbell was a really enjoyable one, and he was amazing. Like, his acting in that was so good. He went through such a range of emotions that I'm really excited to see what he can do. I also didn't hate him in Fantastic Four. So again, I mean, I'm really optimistic to see what's going to come out of his involvement, and not knowing what the movie's going to be like, I wonder whether he'll be able to be a recurring character in future installments. Like if there's if Bloodshot's successful enough for there to be a Bloodshot 2 and so on, hopefully we'll continue to see that actor.
Yeah, so I haven't looked at his IMDb page, but just looking at the guy, I didn't recognize him from anything. I couldn't think of anything I'd seen him in. So I have nothing really to add as far as like, I'm excited for him as an actor because I saw him in these things. But people seem to think he's a really good actor, and that's important. I think that's the thing that like these movies need getting out of the gate. Is like it needs good acting. I mean, we know Vin Diesel can do the action stuff. He can say I am Groot too a whole bunch in the movie. I don't think he's a bad actor per se. I just think that what he does though is like he's a good action actor.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, I thought he was awesome in Pitch Black.
Oh, he's awesome as Riddick. I like him in the Riddick movie too. But like, I'm just saying though, like, I don't think that he gets to do a lot of stuff where like you see like a real range of like artistic talent. Like he's an action star. He really does a lot of stuff on that end. But I think the casting so far is really starting to line up with the movie. It seems like it's got like a cool cast. I'm just curious about like what the movie will be. I know that like Chris Amundsen, old Moosey, he like shared this thing on Comic Fans, which was like a weird synopsis of the movie that he'd found on some website. And I don't know like if it's like true or not. Like it seemed like there was like Project Rising Spirit was just called like Spirit Technologies, like weird things like that. It seemed like there was a little more love interest stuff. It seemed like it was staying true to who Bloodshot was, but it just seemed like everything around Bloodshot was like a little bit different. So it'll be interesting, like when we finally get like some real news about like what the movie could be, because the website, I can't even remember what it was called. I'd never heard of it before. I feel like in this day and age, people could just be like, "Hey, I think this is what it is. I'm gonna put it up on a website. Someone's gonna read it, and that could happen." Right. You could fool me easily. because I'm out there looking for news. You know, if you told me, if someone on a website wrote that, hey man, we're gonna make Harada female, and he's gonna carry and she's gonna carry like a shit ton of guns and knives on her, and be like way different. She's got mental powers, but she doesn't really use them. I would be like, oh man, that's what they're gonna do with the movie. That's fucking crazy. You know, doesn't sound great, but like it's crazy.
No, just a good case in point with how things posted on social media and articles and things can kind of grab you. Jason David Frank tends to post a lot on his Instagram stories, and he posted a picture of his Bloodshot shirt, and then the next thing he posted was a picture of a script written by Aaron Schoenke and someone else, and talking about going to go film with Bat in the Sun. And to me, putting those two together makes it seem like he was going to go do some more Bloodshot, but supposedly Aaron said he's just going to do some more some Power Rangers stuff with them, which is cool that he's working with them. But man, I would love to see him do some more Bloodshot.
I know when you posted that, I was like, what? Are we getting like more Bloodshot stuff? Like, that's awesome.
That would be the coolest fucking thing, man. That would be so fucking awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, like, he's a good Bloodshot.
Yeah, he is.
And it would be cool to see a guy. It'd be cool to see a guy with like Jason's like fighting skill be Bloodshot in like something. Because I mean, like the fight with Ninjak's cool, but it would be cool to see him just do like some other stuff too. You know, like it doesn't have to be like a 5-episode, 6-episode thing. You know, even if it's just like a 10-minute short.
It should be. I want to see feature length, just like what they did with Ninjak Versus. Give me a Bloodshot series that's, hour and 20 minutes long total. You break it up into 5-6 episodes, whatever you want, and then, we can all do. I found a link on YouTube that has I found a video on YouTube that has the whole Ninjak Versus series edited together as a movie. And it's so awesome to watch it that way.
I'll have to look for it. I have YouTube on my TV, and I'm always like, I don't really watch anything on there except for like Hoodoo. So I would like to watch it. Hopefully, it doesn't look too like hopefully like in the bigger format, it looks good.
No, it's HD. It's high quality. It's really good.
All right.
But yeah, I think but that's the same thing I would say with the rest of the characters. Like Jason said, Archer and Armstrong would be great for TV. I think it'd be awesome to see Kevin and I can never remember the guy's name who played Archer, but put the two of them together and do an Archer and Armstrong series, or even just a short about them would be hilarious. Because they were easily the comedic relief in Ninjak Versus, right? Like they were hilarious through that whole thing. And I would love to see more of it. I think all of those characters. I'd love to see more Sierra Foster as Livewire, Derek Thieler as Exo. I just all around. Mike Rowe, any of them. Bring them back, put them on screen as the Valiant characters. I think that it just, I don't know. I was really happy with how Ninjak Versus
Archer. Like I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue, but
like Alex something.
But he looked just like Archer to me. Alex, something with an M for a last name.
Megley,
yeah. But he just looked exactly like him. Like to me, like I thought, holy shit, they found the guy who looks just like he came out of the comic book.
Yeah, it was a perfect casting, and he did so well. That scene when they fought Ninjak, that was the best. Are we winning? You think we're winning?
I love how they called out like moves, like that. Like Archer and Armstrong had these like special moves they do, like Punky Brewster and shit like that. I was like,
Punky Brewster. Yeah, that was amazing.
Kevin was awesome in it too. They all were though. I mean, I liked everything about it. Except Chantel Berry. If they could have just fixed her eyes, like if they just didn't give her the white eyes, I would.
Dude, the white eyes were amazing. Shut up! I don't even want to hear this.
I did not like her like weird eyes and those like weird vignettes when like she's just watching Ninjak get his ass kicked by people.
She's fight
awesome, but she's awesome in the last episode. The last episode of Ninjak with her in it, she's awesome. I just don't think she's
great in the first episode too, dude.
Well, she's good in the first episode, yeah, but she's better in the last one. But from there to there, I don't think anything great of it.
Whatever. I thought she did a great job with the character. I just all around, I thought that that was done really well, and I'd love to see more of it, especially now that we're getting, we're getting a lot more of the, news. Oh, I got the hiccups real bad. Um, yeah, so supposedly Sony gave a cease and desist, so that's why we won't see any more Valiant characters from Bat in the Sun, and that absolutely blows. I would really love to see more of them.
But you know what though? Like one thing I would say about that I think is a good thing is that it maybe does show that Sony wants to start pushing more of this stuff out there so that people can watch it. Maybe they're gonna start getting maybe Faith and Bloodshot and Harbinger just the beginning, that would be great. Just don't take too long because I think Bat in the Sun can get this stuff out fast. And people like it. It's not like a cinematic movie, but like it's still really enjoyable for people who don't get to see any of the characters that they like on the screen.
Dude, I will totally sit down and watch that whole thing as a movie all the way through. I've watched it a few times like that, and it's so awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched those episodes like the week that it was coming out that we thought it was only gonna be available that week. I probably watched every episode like 3 or 4 times. Especially because I was trying to write about each episode.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so the big news, obviously, like we said, the fact that a Faith script is being worked on, so that there most likely will be a Faith movie, or at least we know it's possible there'll be a Faith movie, and the fact that more casting news is coming for the Bloodshot movie, and actors that I really have a lot of respect for, just makes it that much more legitimate. I really, really can't wait until we start seeing set photos and different things like that, to start getting a feel for the tone of this movie, because I know it's been described as kind of RoboCop and Terminator and Total Recall.
Yeah, and to me, like I feel like those are movies I watched dozens of times growing up. I just watched them all the time.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so it'll be cool to see those. But I suppose for now we probably can rock out. We've got 3 different books to talk about.
Yep.
So spoilers are coming, just for anybody watching or listening to this later.
You've been warned.
So I figured first we could chat about this little guy, because I know you probably want to get it out of the way.
It doesn't matter this week.
But X-O Manowar number 16. I know that you weren't super excited for this.
I did get it. Unfortunately, I did not get the pre-order edition. I don't know what the hell that was up with that.
Well, I know that you didn't enjoy the last issue and weren't really looking forward to this. So I'm really curious to hear what you thought about this issue.
I'll get that out of the way real quick. One thing I actually really liked a lot of this issue. The only thing I didn't really care for was just like Arik joining up with the Romans to beat the Huns. I was just like, who gives a shit? It seems so rushed to me. But the whole thing with Sabas and Kalidasa, the writer, I thought that entire segment of the book was so well written, so interesting, and how Kalidasa, the writer, he's got this story that he's working on, and it's basically like what's been going on with Arik on the planet Gorin, which is really interesting to me, like how that whole thing turned out. And Sabas is there to kind of help. He's going to give him ideas, and then they get attacked, and Sabas ends up sabotaging the boat of these assailants so that Kalidasa, whatever, I might have been butchering his name. I apologize if I have been, but I just thought all that was really good to me. Like I just thought that was the stronger point of the issue. To me, like Arik just trying to find his friend, and then he's in Rome, and people are calling him a dog and all this shit. Like I didn't really care. Like that's not that interesting. But I thought the beginning of this book was way interesting.
See, I really like both aspects of the book. I like everything that's going on with Sabas, and I also like, the kind of sparse commentary from the armor telling present day Arik, do you see how this all ties together? Because this whole story really is, kind of an allegory or a metaphor for what's going on in Harbinger Wars 2. And I think that makes it a decent companion piece. And and we'll also get a little bit more into that when we talk about Harbinger Wars 2, number 2. But I don't know, man. Like, is this a groundbreaking, amazing issue that I think that any XO fan needs to pick up? No, not really. But I do think that it's been fun to read, and while I may, I mean, like I said, this is probably not going to be the arc that I come back to and reread a whole bunch of times. But I do think that it's good, and I'm happy to read it as it's coming out. I think that the art has been solid. As much as I'm not the biggest Trevor Harrison fan, I do think it's been solid, and I'm interested to see how this plays out. We just still have a couple more issues of this, and I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily bad. It's just not the greatest, most epic thing. And Exo is Exo is at his best when he's in huge epic battles, but I also think that it's nice to kind of see these flashbacks to his earlier days as well.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I think this isn't going to go down as one of my favorites, but I did like this issue probably about, I don't know. I liked it a little bit better than I liked the previous issue. I don't remember why I scored that one. So, I don't know. I'd probably go like about 3.5 on this one. I mean, it was a good issue. It wasn't anything that I thought was like great, but I don't know. It was a good story. I mean, but like I said, I think Sabas, he seems really interesting. I'm curious to see where that whole thing goes. He does get brought up, I think, in a Harbinger Wars 2 issue 2, if I remember correctly.
He does, and that's what I was going to get into when we get to that issue. And I thought that was a cool little moment. But yeah, for this, I'm probably just a touch higher than you. I go 3.75 on this. Again, not an amazing, groundbreaking issue that I think everybody needs to run out and grab. But I do think that, this isn't an issue or this isn't an arc that would make me drop this book. You know what I mean?
I just think that this is one of those arcs. I think Valiant has gone a little bit different with Exo Manowar on this volume, where a lot of times you could be a new reader and probably jump into any book. I don't think if you were a new reader to Valiant and you jumped into Barbarians that you'd be like, oh man, I can't wait to read more of this. Unless you just wanted to read that kind of shit, a guy walking around ancient Rome, getting harassed.
If you're a big Conan fan.
Yeah. If I say a guy got harassed by merchants, cool. But I think to me, I want to see the armor. I want to see that kind of action. That's why I'm picking up Exo Manowar. And I just think 4 issues of this for me isn't that big of an appeal. But it was a good issue. I mean, it's not bad.
I get where you're coming from, but as much as I've not really been digging the previous arcs of this current XL run, I think that this is probably so far my favorite arc of this run. I haven't really enjoyed a lot of the Planet Gorin stuff. So, I'm pretty on board with this. But, we could probably move on to the next book. I got another A cover on this one, Quantum and Woody.
I got the A cover also, I believe. This one right here. Again, yeah, I'm getting these editions that I thought I was ordering through the shop.
So I just want to say straight out of the gate, Elliot Rahal is 2 for 2 on this.
Definitely. I think what makes these issues, the previous issue and this one so good, is that Quantum Woody is a pretty silly book. It really tries for a lot of comedy. I think that these characters work if you do remove quite a bit of the comedy, though. They don't have to be so slapstick funny. They can be serious in what's going on. I definitely agree with you that Elliot's just knocked it out of the park with this one. I thought this was the best book of the week, personally.
That's tough for me. I don't know if this is the best book of the week, but it's definitely in contention.
I think what makes it so interesting, though, is the fact that it's so different, because if you look at because we're going to spoil the shit out of this. So, obviously they're not on the same Earth, they're somewhere else, they've been discorporated or whatever you want to call it with the previous issue where they couldn't clang. So, Woody seems like everything is where it should be for him. He's got all this money. He can have people around him whenever he wants. but he's unhappy. He's still searching for that thing in life to kind of give him meaning. And he sees Quantum on TV, and Quantum is like Superman. He's the last son of some dying planet, and all he wants to be is just the world's greatest hero. And his power absolutely corrupts. So to me, like, I thought there was a lot of cool stuff going on with both characters, and they don't really have too much of an interaction until the very end of the issue. But to me, I just thought like somebody took these characters and tried to do something vastly different with them. And to me, it works. It works 100% of the way, because it wasn't just like, hey, let's just make a bunch of funny gags and hey, the goat's going to shoot lasers and talk. And it's just like kind of getting down to the roots of who these people are as characters, which I just think is very interesting.
Yeah, I think that that's what Elliot has done so well. And Jason is saying that Elliot was talking about the humor coming back next month because both issues 6 and 7 haven't been very funny issues. They've really dealt with kind of the heart aspect of this book. But I think that that's something we all think of it, Quantum and Woody, as being this loopy, zany comedy book. But I think that Quantum and Woody doesn't work unless you've got a lot of heart to it. That's what made the James Asmus run so great. Yes, it was hilarious, but it also had a lot of that, warring brothers aspect to it. And I think that that's something that Elliot is showing that he can really, really tap into. He's doing a really good job with it. And for me, if he holds on to that and brings more of the comedy into the next arc of his run, I'll be absolutely ecstatic, because I think that this has been a great way for him to show that he understands the characters, he understands what makes them compelling to read, and then just adding humor is just adding humor. You know what I mean? Like, that's, to me, that's not like what makes. Yes, I like for Quantum and Woody to be funny, but Quantum and Woody doesn't need to be funny to be good,
Yeah.
And I think that that was one of the things that hurt Kibblesmith's run, because it was a little bit hit and miss. And I think that there were times that he was going for, oh, this will be hilarious, not necessarily putting the characters first.
Yeah, one thing that you touched on is like the warring brothers aspect of the characters. And one thing I think that gets kind of forgotten is that they are brothers, and I think that's one thing that was really showcased quite well in the previous issue. Like Woody is showing that he cares about Quantum, and here it's like he's almost like the voice of reason when they finally interact. Trying to like get things back where they need to be. Sometimes I always feel like when I read a lot of Quantum and Woody stuff, I always feel like I like Quantum more. I thought Woody was like the best thing about this issue. Like, I just really liked where he was trying to go as a character.
I thought it was funny that in his kind of like dream world fantasy, he was in therapy.
I like that he had every baseball card.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought, like, what
rich.
A random thing that somebody would have. He's like, I've got every baseball card. Like, what?
Yeah. That was pretty hilarious. No, I think that this was just a really solid issue. And Portella's art, I think, really worked well. For me, I mean, this comes in at a 4.25. I think that issue 6 would be an amazing place for a new reader to jump into Quantum and Woody. And this issue would be. I know Quantum and Woody, and I was really confused when I was reading this issue. And when I got to the end, I was like, okay, this only half makes sense. And I had to go back and look at 6 again. And then I understood, like, yes, they got disincorporated, and this is kind of them in the ether or whatever, and they had to pull it back to come back to the real world. And I thought that was a really cool way to tie them into Harbinger Wars 2. And I also think that, like I said, this is proving to me that Elliot is going to be a great writer for this series. I really can't wait to see what's next from him. So yeah 4.25 for me.
I'm going to go a touch higher, 4.5. Love this issue. I like what you said there about how, like, it shows that Elliot could be like a great writer on the series. I hope so, because I feel like enough people don't talk about the previous work he's done. I know that even me, like as someone who reads everything, I haven't liked everything he's worked on. But I feel like as things go, I've liked everything more and more. So like I wasn't too hot on like that Archer and Armstrong crossover for Divinity.
That was my least favorite Valiant work of his.
Yeah. But I liked the Ray Strummer one shot. I liked Bloodshot's Day Off. I liked Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. I think this is great. I even like the work I've read that he's done outside of Valiant. So I think like he's a dude with like a star on the rise, kind of, like he's got some great ways to tell stories. So I hope people are checking this out. But I thought this was another just great issue.
Yeah, I remember talking to him at the last con I saw him at about we need a delinquents book, and he was 100% on board. And we were saying, he should try to bring Archer and Armstrong into the book and do a delinquents arc, or just try to get a delinquents title going. But yeah, I think that I don't know. I just want more. As long as the longer he can keep writing Quantum and Woody, the more happy I'll be. But then we do have one more book to talk about. We've got Harbinger Wars 2, number 2.
I did get the pre-order for this one.
Look at that cover.
I know, it's sweet, man. Giorello's good looking cover. Yours was good too, though.
Dude, this issue, I gotta say, man. Okay, let me find it. Did I go? Oh no, here it is. That fucking page right there. That alone makes this an amazing, amazing issue. And the previous page, when Bloodshot was like, "Are you controlling me, Livewire? Have I lost my own agency? Let's just focus on the mission, Bloodshot." Like,
yeah,
that. I love that. I mean, we were talking about how in the last on the last time that we reviewed this book, issue 1, we were talking about how it seemed pretty clear that Livewire was controlling Bloodshot. And I think that this makes it even that much more clear. She made his nanites grow him wings and then suck them back into his body. Yeah, she's definitely controlling him. And I think that a little earlier in the book, the conflict between Pete and Gunslinger and Exo, and then with Ninjak coming up and being like, "You guys got to learn some fucking mind management," or whatever he says. What does he say here? Yeah,
that's what he says. That's the name of his book he writes for Dark Horse too.
That's true. Don't write that mind
Way
management.
to plug your own work, Matt. Way to go, dude.
That I thought that was amazing that Ninjak, because Ninjak is the guy who would be able to defeat Pete. He is the one that defeated Divinity. He's the one that knew that Stalinverse wasn't right. So yeah, Ninjak would be the guy who would be able to avoid Pete's mental attack. And then I also really liked when Livewire went to talk to Divinity, and she's like, "You're a god, and you can fix all of this with a snap of your fingers." Little Thanos reference there, I thought. And he's just like, "I could do it. I could. But then what's next? Next time you have a problem, you just come to me and want me to snap my fingers and make it the way you want it? Like, whose side do I pick, And he's just like, "Look, that's not who I am, and it's not what I want to be. So, good luck."
This was a good issue. I thought that there was a lot of cool stuff. Definitely the Bloodshot Demon Wings thing. Him with the fucking ready to like lay down some ammo on some people. With his demon wings. I thought it was awesome. I like the fact that I feel like we got like a kind of a definitive note to like who's in control of Bloodshot. Is it him or is it Livewire? I feel like Livewire's definitely got him under her thumb, and I like that about her actually. Like to me, like the fact that she's like, "It's my way." I feel like I'm right about all these things. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to stand up for like the Psyops and for my kids and all that stuff. I really like that about her. To me, it makes her feel like more of a human character. Like a person with real emotion and real like feelings for things. So I like that. Even if she's not going to be 100% right in everything that she does, because it's not fucking cool that she's like taking control of Bloodshot. Like he's still a person. He's still like a living thing.
Well, she's putting him back into the worst part of his life too, right? Like she's forcing him to go back to being not even in control of his own actions.
Yeah, so he's basically what he was like prior to like, Bloodshot 1 back in 2012.
Right.
And one thing that I thought about that, like when he goes onto the love boat, is that where they're at, and he just stabs that dude in the head.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that just like some random guy working there? He just fucking kills him.
Yeah, dude.
Like, so it's like
he's Bloodshot.
But would Bloodshot just kill like a random guy who poses no threat to him, who's not like a bad person? Like, I feel like Bloodshot since 2012, he's been a guy who's like, you know what, like I'm just taking out the trash. He's just taking out the trash everywhere in the Valiant universe, So like some random dude who just like ate his cereal and was like, hey, I'm gonna go to work and work on a floating ship. And he's not expecting some like albino dude with red laser eyes to stab him in the head. It's kind of fucked up, Like, I hope he's got life insurance. I hope his family's like how do you explain that? Oh yeah, he died.
I wasn't worried about that guy. I wasn't.
Where's the one shot about his family where they're like, oh, our husband, we loved him so much. Oh, how'd he die? Some like dude with nanites stabbed him in the head on a floating ship.
It was collateral damage. It was collateral damage. And
but Gates not bad guys.
Gates are the bad guys. Okay. Omen are bad guys, and Gates are working with Omen, right? So also, but this brings up another interesting point. Like right before that happens, there's these 2 pages about here. I'll see if I can show the right panel. That whole thing going on, right?
Yeah, the kid with the tentacles in his head.
Yeah. So this is the kid that Pete activated back in issue 1. And he's kind of gone AWOL, and turns out that he can't control his powers because nobody's there to help him. And so that's why Gunslinger is kind of making a good point at the beginning of this issue when he's trying to talk sense into Pete. Like, look, yes, I understand that you want to activate these kids, but you got some responsibility here. And I think that this shows that, like, we got to see in the prelude why Amanda feels that she's right. She's trying to protect these kids, read Secret Weapons and everything that happened to them. We know why she's willing to do pretty much anything to protect them. But now we get to kind of see, the other side of that coin. And this is something I was talking a lot about with Chris from Calgary, that this is Valiant at its best when we've got this moral ambiguity. There are all these characters trying to do what they think is the best thing for the future of the world. And you can't really say definitively, oh, this is the good guy and that's the bad guy. This is the side that everybody should be on, and everybody on the other side is horrible. That's not really there. Like, and I think that that's kind of the whole what's going on in that EXO flashback arc is, his suit kind of trying to explain that to him, like, there's no clear right or wrong here. Just like the idea of him having to team up with the Romans to defeat the Huns. Yeah, the Romans and the Visigoths are enemies, but when you have a common enemy, you got to put your differences aside, and it becomes a lot muddier to determine who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. And I think that's what makes this series great. I know a lot of people are a little down on this event right now, but to me, this is what's making it awesome.
Yeah, I know that for me, like, see, when the book was leading up to Pete versus Exo Manowar, I was like, holy shit, I can't wait for this. Because it already seemed like Gunslinger was way out of his element.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Pete was just calling his plays. He's like, I know you're going to do this. Oh, you're going to do that? Well, here's what happens when you do this. And he showed him all these, like, horrific moments where, like, it's kind of backfired for him. And then when Exo got involved, I thought, man, like, they're going to go at it. And there's the shot where it shows Sean Hara just, like, tattered. And Pete's kind of got the upper hand on Exo Manowar. And I thought, this is great, because I don't remember Harada being able to do that to him in Unity, that first Unity arc. It seemed like it took Amanda to be the one who could have a little bit of power over the armor. And what this showed is that Pete could get in there. Pete could manipulate things and take him out. It made the fact that Rangers is the one that's got the helmet who can almost like turn off his mind but still act that much more impressive to me. But I do wish that fight had a little bit more detail to it, just a little bit more like pages added to it. Because I do think that like that's two of the heaviest hitters that Valiant has.
Well, and who knows what's going to come with the next couple of issues. We're only halfway through the main. Well, we're halfway through this event, right? This is going to be 6 issues total. We're only 3 in, so I'm really curious to see, because I doubt that Pete's going to stay locked up for the whole rest of this series.
I hope not, because I always just think like he's got so much power. I want to see him use that power.
Yeah.
Two things that I also thought were kind of a shock to me that I didn't expect to see. One was the divinity moment that you touched on. The other, though, is Bloodshot discovering Tama the Geomancer.
Yeah.
On the fucking Love Boat. She's obviously doing something to, like, I think keep the thing afloat, because nothing should be working, after what Livewire did. And somehow they're still staying afloat. So I thought that was definitely, like, if you would have said, like, hey, who are some characters you don't think you'd see? I would probably, in my top 5, would have been like, oh, yeah, Tama the Geomancer. No way, like, it's just not her kind of scene. So I thought that was a really nice twist. Right before we recorded, right as you called me to get on this call, I was trying to look up the book at the very beginning, The King in Yellow, because it seems like if you look at Divinity and how much reading and books play into like what that story is overall, there's lots of little hints. I take it as hints that these are books that Kent likes. So The King in Yellow is a book. It came out in like 1895. That's as far as I got until we made this call.
Oh, The King in Yellow is the unofficial beginning of the Cthulhu mythology.
Is it really?
Yes, because Cthulhu was created. Cthulhu and the old ancient ones were created by H.P. Lovecraft, who came after The King in Yellow had already been written. But supposedly he was really influenced by that book, and it's kind of viewed as essentially the beginning of the universe that H.P. Lovecraft created.
Yeah, see, I've only read like the Lovecraft stuff, so I didn't know anything about this book. Like sometimes Kent puts the stuff in his title or like in his stories, and I just think, oh, these are like some Easter eggs that I need to start looking up. So I thought that was interesting, and it kind of makes me think, like, because on the cover of that book it shows like a guy with a bunch of tentacles in his head.
Yeah.
So then the kid gets activated. He's reading that book, and he starts sprouting these like monstrous tentacles out of his head. So like, how do people decide how do people get their powers? I think, is it like something like, are they susceptible to like outside influence where it's like they're picking up on something, and when they get activated, something is triggered within them based upon like something within their environment? Like I'm kind of curious about that. Probably will never get that answer. But
so this is something that I've actually thought since back when Torque got activated, because before he was activated, he basically lived in his imaginary world in his mind. And then when he was activated, his power was to become the character from his fantasy.
So it seems like people, it's what they kind of want. Like I think there's mention with Faith that she wanted to fly. That she wanted to soar. And then that's like her main ability, is that she can fly, and she can also project her fields. But it just makes me think that in a way people have some kind of control over what they become. Like when they become a Psyot, there's something there within them where it's almost like getting like your wish to come true. I don't know if someone's wish to come true would be like fucking monstrous tentacles coming out of their head, but like who knows? I mean, I'm not everyone, But it does seem like the environment, or at least like the things on someone's mind, do play a little bit of a part. Like if they want it so bad, it kind of happens a little bit, to an extent. And I guess like it then makes it a little bit more interesting when you think about the characters that we've seen, like in Renegades, for instance, who were just like monstrous beings that like had to get put down by Harada, like when their activation didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to know. It seems like there's that element. But anyway, for this book, man, I don't know where to score it. I feel like I'm probably going to go. Actually, I'm going to go the same I did for Quantum and Woody, a 4.25. I think it's really strong. It's not perfect, but I do think it's a very enjoyable book. and I'm really excited to see where it goes from here. And I'm also really excited about the fact that this story, it seems like it's really going to have some ramifications in the broader universe. We've already seen it, play out in Quantum and Woody. There's a Livewire book that's coming, which obviously will be the tone of that book will be determined by what continues to happen in the rest of this story. And then, we've also been promised, there's going to be a new Bloodshot book coming soon. And I would imagine that the events of this story will probably inform that a little bit too. Well, I guess that one's a flashback, maybe not. I don't know.
I mean,
but
there's a possibility, though. I was thinking about this the other day too. Like, there's a possibility that Bloodshot might be like out of commission, like by the end of the series, because he's just being used, and that might make sense why they do a book set in his past for a little bit.
Yeah, that would make sense. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Exo, I think that there's a very strong chance that whatever happens in this book will inform what comes next in the Exo series. So that, I think, is in and of itself makes this a really interesting book, because it seems like it's going to have a pretty broad impact. But where does your score come in at?
My score comes in at a 4. I do wish there was a little bit more happening with the story as far as like the action goes. One thing I do want to mention, neither of us really talked about this. I thought Renato Gatiss' art was so fucking beautiful in this book. I mean, like, I love the way he makes Animalia look. I thought Divinity looked rad. It's weird to think like how excited I am to look at like Tomas Giarella's art, but I think I like at least in this issue, I thought I liked what Renato did better. But I'd go 4. And then real quick, just before we like wrap this up, I want to go back to what Jason said, because he'd said something in response. He said, about anticipation, and maybe like anticipation's not being met and all the stuff with flashbacks. I think that's hard to say, because I thought this was another good week of books. I think it's kind of a letdown that I'm not as into Harbinger Wars 2 as I thought I would be. I haven't enjoyed this as much as I had hoped, but I do enjoy it still. And I still think that even a good Valiant book is still better than like a lot of the other shit out there.
Yeah.
But I do kind of get though, like, what our expectations are. But one thing I would say in defense of that, I feel like when you look at like Divinity being put into this book, the fact that Ninjak was able to be the one who defeated Pete, Tama the Geomancer just showing up, Bloodshot's, fucking demon wings. I think that there's a lot of things being thrown into the story that you wouldn't expect. Like when you think about like, oh, Ninjak, he'll be the guy who's going to have to handle Bloodshot. And Exo's got to handle Pete. Exo can't even handle Pete, like, I think there's like some cool little moments like that put into the story that, to me at least, make it a really good book. I don't know if I'd call it great. I think a 4 out of 5 is pretty fucking good. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think I could say that I'm disappointed with it or anything like that. It's still a good week of books. I mean, if Exo Manowar is the worst book that comes out and it wasn't even that bad either, I think it was still a good week.
Yeah.
Maybe not a great week, but
I totally agree. The thing that I'm honestly most bummed about is that we got these 3 awesome books this week, and next week all we get.
I knew this was coming.
All we get next week is Valiant High. What the F?
I was on Hoodoo TV this week, and Hoosier's like, he's like, I can't wait till next week's episode where like you guys just talk about Valiant High the whole time. I was like, shit, that's it? Really?
I'm sure it'll be gold.
We don't hate it. I can just I'll just say it right now. Whatever our score was the last 2 issues, that's probably what my next one's gonna be too.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll still talk about it, but Valiant, please drop some like a bunch of news.
Yeah. Hopefully we get because we just got a whole bunch of news. Well, not a whole bunch, but at least some news this week in 3 books. So if we have no news next week and only Valiant High,
yeah, we'll be relying on you, the listeners, to help us out next week. Then,
no, you know what we might have to do next week is dissect Shattered Grid so far.
Oh, that would be good. Well, no, man, we can get
Get Nick back on?
Get Nick back on. Talk some Mighty Morphin Power Rangers,
Yeah, I would be down for that. I would rather talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers than Valiant High, personally. Speaking of things from other publishers, did you pick anything else up this week?
I picked up a shit ton of stuff, but I hadn't picked up books for 2 weeks. So like I picked up like Batman 49.
Boom.
I picked up The Century because Lemire wrote it.
Yes.
I was like, oh,
I have not read it yet.
I like the cover. I don't like the character, but I was like, I'm gonna read it because it's Lemire. I always give everything that he does at least one issue. I feel like
I figured I would check it out because he wrote it. So yeah, I went ahead and grabbed that. And then the other thing I had to grab that just came out, and this is another situation where if you're not reading this book, fellow watchers and listeners, I'm sorry, but you're fucking up. Boom.
Yep. I bought that. I bought Kill or Be Killed. That's what Eric's holding up is Kill or Be Killed 20, the last issue.
It is the last issue. Oh my God, dude.
I'm like 8 issues behind, but I have all of them over on my table. So I'm like, I'm just going to go through and try to read the whole thing this weekend.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. And the fact that I can just sit there and read everything, the whole series, hopefully the whole series. And maybe some of those essays in the back too. What else did I buy? Shit. Oh, I bought A Walk Through Hell 2, which we've never talked about issue 1. I thought issue 1 was really interesting, but then I thought issue 2 didn't do anything to move the story along really. Like, I don't know. We it's not worth talking about because we've never talked about it. I like
the biggest thing I'm excited about is I'm so excited to read this Kill or Be Killed 20. The story has been so awesome so far. And I haven't read this issue yet. I might actually read the whole series before and then read issue 20 instead of, just reading it on its own.
I think I picked up issue 4 of Gideon Falls.
I need to catch up on that. I think I only have the first issue.
Yeah. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty fun.
Well, speaking of Gideon Falls, William was asking us to mention this earlier. The fact that it's going to be.
I didn't know if we were even going to talk about this, but we probably should.
I didn't think we would, but the fact that they're now developing Gideon Falls is it a TV show?
I think it might be a movie. I'm not sure. But who is it that's working on that?
Oh, that's a little known guy that some Valiant fans might have heard of, named Dinesh Shamdasani, and his production company that he's co-president of called Hive Mind.
Yeah, I'm so happy for Dinesh. It's been one thing to follow him on Twitter with all the fucking covers he's been buying. Like, he's been buying like a crazy amount of like original art, like Barry Windsor Smith covers. He bought a Watchmen cover. He bought Amazing Spider-Man 300's cover art. Like, he's just been going like buck wild. But I'm really happy that he's doing this. He's not just going to be the producer of Bloodshot, but he's going to be producing this. He's got Hive Mind. It sounds like Hive Mind's going to get into comics. I feel like, Dinesh has made a lot of good contacts. There's a lot of people that really feel strongly about him. So I think that if they do comic books, people are going to read them. I think people are going to give him a shot. So very excited for the potential with that. But,
yeah, I think that what Gideon Falls is going to be is like a Stars or HBO series.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that the idea of something that's really exciting to me is the idea of Dinesh, curating a new universe of comics, whether it's superheroes or not, or if he just starts putting out, his production company starts putting out creator-owned comics or something like that. Either way, I think that would be really exciting. I would absolutely follow that.
Yep. I'm looking to support that. Totally.
For sure. Well, I think that's about all we've got, and better save up our energy for a whopper of an episode next week.
I think next week what we're going to have to do is Eric and I will just we'll put on a performance of the entire issue of Valiant High 3. We'll pick our characters of whose voice we're going to do. Maybe we can do that to fill an hour. I don't know.
A dramatic reading of Valiant High. No, I'll talk to Nick and see if we can get him on and talk about Shattered Grid, because I'm a couple issues behind on that right now. So I'll catch up on it and maybe we can talk about how all that's going. Because
that'd be great.
that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers book has actually been pretty good. But anyway, yeah, I want to thank everybody who's watching, everybody who watches and listens later, and everybody, of course, who supports Valiant. So thanks, everybody. Signing off, I'm Eric Baumgard.
I'm Josh Rathbun.
And I hope you all have a great week.
Get Valiant.
And then stay Valiant after you get Valiant.
Hashtag get Valiant and then hashtag stay Valiant.